that we already have. Hopefully you've thought of some. If not, we've got some samples we're going to pass around that you can browse through, and if you want to ask something, you can ask something. Me being the master of ceremonies, I've got a little Biedler in me, so I know how to let questions go for a long time. But I've got some Alexander in me too, so I know when to cut it short. I was weeded out of a group of just me, and I got the job, so I'm going to do my best. If one of you guys wants to say this is going too long, try to get my attention, do one of these, all right? Or one of these. And that's fine because, we can kind of get out of hand sometimes.
And you think that you can do something to stop them from talking?
Oh, I know I can. These bottles of water isn't for their hydration. They go over the head. And then I got a big old hook.
At least he doesn't have a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Squirt gun, yeah, they double a squirt gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get it started with the kind of questions that you could use. All right. And if you have a question for Dan, actually, what Craig's going to do is Craig's going to kind of be the surrogate Dan, and he's going to repeat every question, whether it's to them or to Dan, so that Dan can hear it. All right. And then if Mary's given the answer, Craig's going to probably be over here somewhere trying to make sure that Dan can hear Mary. If you have a question, we're not going to go up to you. He's just going to repeat it.
You can always stand and project really well since we're all deaf.
All right. So this question I'm going to pose to each one of you, and we're going to go through a quick little answer from each one of you, including you, Dan, is if you had a general word of wisdom for this family with respect to carrying on family, what would that be? What is important for you to communicate to this group about how to represent family to the world?
One word.
Karen has her hand up.
Oh.
Karen has her hand up.
I got mine up.
Teamwork. Teamwork.
Expand on that a little bit.
Whatever you do, and I'm thinking especially in family reunions, when you come together, there's always some organizational planning ahead of time. But everybody knows you just work as a team. You know you're going to come and you're going to work together. You're going to help cook, you're going to help clean, you're going to help plan fun stuff, but you work as a team. It's a secret to marriage. Teamwork. Awesome.
Mary.
Oh, well, one word. That's a toughie, one word. I'm going to say forgiveness, and that means looking beyond. It's not like someone did something wrong and then you have to forgive them. It's like looking for the best in each other.
We're going to experiment with something. We're going to have Dan listen from over your shoulder. Let's try that. So you come around that side. All right.
So then he can look at the whole gang.
He can look at the whole gang and hear your voice.
And he's an elder now up there with everybody else.
He's not just some disembodied head on Mary's shoulder.
Hold him in front of your head and it'll fit.
All right, so did I interrupt you?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
What was the word?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Looking beyond.
Looking beyond.
Not like someone did something wrong or you have some grievance, but looking beyond and looking for the goodness in each person. And you could say kindness, but this whole thing of being able to look beyond people's, whatever you think shouldn't be going on is going on, whatever. And finding that common connection. Yeah.
Examining your expectations.
Oh boy, yeah.
You hear that, Dan? Examining expectations.
And letting go of them if you can. Shall we go on?
Good. You got it.
I got it. Okay. So we've got 4 more.
I would say communication, because you have to let everybody know what's going on so they can contribute, and there aren't any miscommunications. I'm putting it simply.
Communicate.
Communicate.
For me, it's really listening to others, which requires some presence, but paying attention to what others are saying, and a bit of what you do lands over there, or as we often say, how it occurs over there. Paying attention to that. Your intentions might be good, but it may not be landing over there with the other person. well. So really listen, tune in, but mostly listen. Be present. Not only at our table, but always,
So here and everywhere adored?
everywhere. Good.
That's right.
That leaves Gary.
Gary, Dan?
If I can be forgiven some forum speak, I guess the single word is integrity, but I mean by that commitment to your word, to live up to what you say and promise that you will do, and that's in marriage, relationships, in family, in everything you do.
It doesn't mean you have to be perfect.
Just
All
means to be
the rest
aware
adds
of
to
what
it.
you have said and try to live up to it as best you can.
And own up to it when you don't.
Yeah, knowing up to it when you don't. Responsibility.
How about you, Dan?
Your turn.
Yes,
I stole your word, I know.
Ready.
I don't have one word, but I'd like to say that try to remember that every single person we know and interact with is fighting some problem or issue that we know nothing about. So let's be
That's not me. That's not me.
Compassionate?
You cut out there, Dan.
what
Can you
happened?
go through that again one more time?
Did y'all hear that?
To be compassionate?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
say
say it again,
compassionate.
Now that is,
Yeah.
Be aware.
try to remember that every single person we know is fighting some kind of battle we know nothing about or little speak to one another.
So we're all in it together. Got it.
It sounds like being aware,
Hear it?
that
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, and I like the way it ties in with John's listening. Because we can be talking to somebody, and if we don't imagine, well, how are they receiving this? What are they dealing with? Like Dan just said, we can be projecting our own assumption about how they're receiving this. So just be aware. Listen.
Great.
Do I hear an amen?
Amen. Amen.
I'm gonna sing that song at the end.
Okay?
Okay, great. So, anybody have a question in their noggin or that they've read that they want to hear something interesting from these folks about? Sam,
Yes.
and you're going to repeat, Craig.
One of the questions I would like to know was, what was it like to live during the hippie/counterculture movement of the 60s and 70s?
You don't want to know.
First hand up gets it. First hand up gets it. Did you hear
Did
that,
you get
Dan?
that, Dad?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I was completely out of it.
Mary had her hand up. Mary had her hand
All
up.
right, you go.
I was going to say the same thing he is saying, and that is because
You
we
missed it.
We were in our own alternative world.
Yeah, we were in the Philippines. Well, we were traveling all over the world from 59 to 65. We were home, I think, 1 year or two in between. So to a large extent, we missed a lot of what was going on with American culture. We were so busy learning about other cultures at that point. I remember bell bottoms. I remember the beads. I remember, a lot of different things from the news. But to actually have lived it, our world was so rich in other ways that that it kind of went by me.
Is that what you were going to say, John?
Yeah, but I was in Ambassador College, and our culture there
In
didn't
Pasadena.
participate in all of that. So, so we had so many rules that we lived by that we just really didn't. We saw it in the news and so on, but we didn't participate in it. What else was I going to? Oh, but I did kind of dress like it, which Kimberly and
We have proof.
yes.
well, let's
76 reunion, anybody?
Some of the
something to talk
bell
about,
bottoms
that's
and
for
leisure
sure.
suits that I wore.
Lots of brown and orange.
Lots of tight pants. That's what I was gonna say.
We had a belated experience in that, as John and the others say. We were in a cocoon in the 60s. We did not experience the 60s. But in the early 70s, as the visual experience of the photos shows, we dressed crazy, had beards and so
Afros,
forth.
not
Yeah,
afros.
Yeah, we had
Afro
afros.
for a while.
Afro man.
But
Afro.
Me
if
afro.
if you live only in the moment, you cannot realize how crazy things were in the past. The years 69, 70, 71, 72 were, if you can think, much wilder and more divisive than today's times are. I can go into great detail and prove that, but I won't do that here.
It's true.
But there were bombings every day, 5, 6, 7, 8 bombings every day.
In America.
Riots
In America.
Yeah.
And there were just disruptions all the time. And Nixon was easily as controversial as our current president. There was just all kinds of
It
stuff
was
going
wild
on.
times. It was
It
as
was.
wild to us then as it may seem to you all today.
It really was.
Yes.
Great.
How do you think that affected the movement of the future? I mean,
It affected a lot. It got the draft ended. It got all kinds of changes socially done.
A lot of distrust of the government started then.
yeah.
Vietnam, I mean, I can remember watching so much of the Vietnam War on television and so many protests and, I was a conscientious objector and that was, not well received.
Yeah, we all were.
A lot of people were.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this. Were there any of your friends
Can
that
I
you...
add something, Daniel?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I would just like to add that while we were busy running around the world and were therefore isolated from the hippie years, answering Sam's question, we had to answer where we were questions like in the Philippines, where the kids would watch an American movie and then they would quiz us and say, is that really what's like in America?
Uh-huh.
So we learn how to describe and define the ups and downs and the not so nices of our own country.
Yeah, what they saw in the movies, they thought that's how all Americans were living.
Cowboys, everybody was a cowboy.
Cowboys or jeans.
Or everybody was running and jumping in other beds other than their mates.
And we could probably say we think that way sometimes of other cultures. That it's this
Yeah.
one way, and we're not right.
That's right.
Yeah.
We really have no concept till you go and live in another culture or visit it or whatever, what it's like.
So did anyone here have a friend or two or more from the 50s growing up, went off to the Philippines, went off to college, whatever, met back up with them later, and they were extremely affected by that counterculture, by the hippie movement? What was that like?
Did you get that, Dad?
I didn't get that.
Yeah, my high school friend Jim Benster, very brilliant scientist.